Hey friends, this is Audie Cornish, host of CNN This Morning and The Assignment, and guess what? Every story you care about, every angle you want unpacked is now streaming on CNN. That means you can catch my show or other CNN programming whenever you want on your favorite device. And a subscription also gets you access to exclusive video series and unlimited articles. So subscribe to CNN at cnn.com/subscription.
This is a real good story about Bronx and his dad, Ryan, real United Airlines customers.
We were returning home, and one of the flight attendants asked Bronx if he wanted to see the flight deck and meet Captain Andrew.
I got to sit in the driver's seat.
I grew up in an aviation family, and seeing Bronx kind of reminded me of myself when I was that age.
That's Andrew, a real United pilot.
These small interactions can shape a kid's future.
It felt like I was the captain.
Allowing my son to see the flight deck will stick with us forever.
That's how good leads the way.
Once upon a mundane morning, Barb's day got busy without warning. A realtor in need of an open house sign. No, 50 of them, and designed before 9.
My head hurts.
Any mighty tools to help with this plight? Aha! Barb made her move. She opened Canva and got in the groove.
Bulk creating Canva sheets. Create 50 signs fit for suburban streets.
Done in a click, all complete.
Sweet!
Now, imagine what your dreams can become when you put imagination to work at canva.com.
Matt, happy Halloween. Let's start with that right now.
It is. It's a happy Halloween. How has your October been?
Turned 40, so going great.
Congratulations. If I may say so, you look the same.
I feel the same, so that's perfect.
There it is.
It is. I was going to have us dive into some emails first, but in honor of it being Halloween, let's talk about the one movie cameo that was on our list to discuss. It is very brief, but Adam Sandler. I've been listening to Robert Bacon's Adam Sandler. Please stop while waiting for us to start the recording. Al Yankovic shows up in Rob Zombie's Halloween 2.
Halloween 2. I had completely forgot about this. And it was funny because I rewatched, maybe it was last October. I do a thing. You and I are both horror movie maniacs, Matt Kelly. So I assume you do a similar version where in the month of October, I pretty much exclusively watch horror movies.
Yeah.
And I think I rewatched Halloween 2 last October, or maybe it was 2 Octobers ago. And somehow I still forgot that this happened in Rob Zombie's Halloween 2.
So this was the only thing I really knew about Halloween 2. I actually just watched it for the first time this year. It was the only Michael Myers movie I'd never seen. And I think it's fine. I actually think it's better than the first Rob Zombie Halloween movie.
So when they came out,
everybody hated this when it came out.
When this came out, I also did not feel like I got this movie.
Yeah.
I am of the belief, there are things about it you can criticize, of course, but now for me, especially, not to make this just a Halloween podcast, when I look back on the more recent franchises, I will take Rob Zombie's Halloween over David Gordon Green's Halloween. At this point, looking at those two versus those three, at least for me, I think Zombie does a better overall job at what he does with the story than the David Gordon Green ones. I was iffy at the top, and by the time it got to the end, I was like, yeah, this is not for me.
You know what? All right, we're doing this right now.
Let's do it.
We're going to, from bottom to top, we'll just go back and forth on the entire Halloween franchise.
Okay, now I'm not going to, some of the deep cuts of the original series, I am not going to be as well versed on.
I'm not either, but I'm going to say that I think the absolute worst is Halloween 6, Curse of Michael Myers. This is the one with Paul Rudd.
Almost certainly true, yes.
Yeah, this is the one with the cult, all of that stuff. Yep. I'm going to go kind of controversial here, and the next worst one, I'm going to say, well, not that controversial, is Halloween Kills, the second of the David Gordon Green franchise.
I could not stand that movie.
Yeah.
I almost didn't watch Halloween Ends because I hated Halloween Kills so much.
Yeah.
that it's rare that a horror movie especially infuriates me to that degree.
It's
like
so
I was so angry.
Long. It is
so
the
long and it's
longest
so
movie.
dumb.
Yeah.
It is just the dumbest movie. It is the classic like middle movie of a trilogy where just you by the time it's over you're like none of this like this has no consequence to anything. It's just it feels like such a waste of time.
That's the frustrating part. We'll see where I rank Halloween Ends, but when I watched Halloween Ends, I was just reminded that Halloween Kills has a real this could have been an email energy. Like so little
oh my God.
events of Halloween Kills play into Halloween Ends that it's
true.
It's so infuriating.
Yeah.
Here's where I think we're going to divide a little bit though, because above that I would put the Rob Zombie Halloween. I think it's just too dark, too mean, too much backstory, like not really for me.
So it is super, super dark and mean, and there are scenes in that movie that people find really, really like disturbing beyond any enjoyment, and that's fair. And also, I can appreciate the criticisms people have of like the expanded backstory of young Michael Myers as like not doing his character any favors. I don't know. I would still put that movie above a bunch of the later entries of the original quote unquote canon.
I would say could be swapped easily Halloween Resurrection with Busta Rhymes, where it's like a found footage movie inside of the Myers house is also pretty bad.
That one is tough. But I also, and even having said that, I would still put Rob Zombie's Halloween above every one of David Gordon Green's.
Really? Okay.
Every single one. Every single one.
That's where you and I are going to disagree.
Yeah.
I would say the next one that I would put in there, I know this is a controversial take, Halloween 2, the original.
The original Halloween 2?
It just feels like a movie out of obligation from front to back.
It was. And I think that's not to jump ahead, but I think that's one of the more brilliant things about Rob Zombie's Halloween 2 is that how he starts it with the same sort of setup as the original Halloween 2.
Yeah.
And then changes it and immediately pulls the rug. Like I love that
That's
was a really clever move. Yeah.
That's why I'm putting Rob Zombie's Halloween 2 just above it.
Just above the original. Okay.
I think Rob Zombie's Halloween 2 is the best part 2 of any of the Halloween franchise.
Well, you know what? I think we definitely agree on that.
Yeah, that's a big agree. Then I'd probably put Halloween 5 because we gets a little rocky there. Then I would put David Gordon Green's original Halloween.
Okay.
Then I'm gonna just say right out here that I'm not including Season of the Witch because that's a whole other beast, but that movie's great.
Season of the Witch is great, hard to rank among the other ones.
Exactly.
Yes.
Then I would probably put Halloween Ends. I think Halloween Ends is the highlight of the David Gordon Green franchise. I'm trying to think what's left at this point. All right, so then I would go 4, Halloween 4, Return of Michael Myers.
Sure.
Halloween H2O is my number 2. Love that movie. And then,
I do too. Number 2 is that's a bold placement.
I know. And then number 1, obviously the original. I mean, the John Carpenter one is. But if I'm only going to watch one Halloween movie for the season, it's probably actually going to be H2O. I have way more fun with Halloween H2O than I do.
That's so interesting
because the first one's just slow. It is a slow burn to like the core, and sometimes I want a movie that Joseph Gordon-Levitt's getting an ice skate to the face in the first 10 minutes and it doesn't slow down.
Oh yeah, 100%. 100%. I know. I totally get that. It is definitely like those later. It's like, a lot of those like classic horror franchises have a version of that. By the time you get to like, if you're just looking for a dumb slasher time, then yeah, definitely go to like a later Friday the 13th movie.
Exactly.
Or all of those are just pure kills at a certain point.
This Halloween, we've been introducing Barb's Oldest to a bunch of horror movies. Some have gone over really well. Some did not. Pumpkinhead, I think, was too heady of a film to show a 10-year-old. But like, yeah, we didn't
10
show
is
him.
The age?
Yeah, 10.
10.
We didn't show him Friday the 13th. We showed him Jason Lives. You know what I mean? Like that's like more of the energy of like also it's the only Friday the 13th movie without sex in it, so that also helped that.
I wouldn't have thought of that offhand, but
yeah,
that makes sense. Yeah,
one of us hosts a horror podcast.
Yeah, no, you know. Is he like old enough? Like, has he seen like Jaws?
He knows the basics. Yeah, he knows Jaws and stuff. But like when I met this kid when he was 8, he couldn't walk through a Spirit Halloween because it scared him too much.
Right.
But now he's starting to like show an interest in, the classic 80s slashers.
That's cool.
He wants to watch Freddy. He wants to watch Jason. He wants to watch Michael Myers. He doesn't want to watch the original Halloween until Halloween night, which caused an interesting thing because he still wanted to watch Halloween movies. So we showed him 4 and H2O. But like, those are not movies you can just kind of like walk into without knowing the groundwork of the first movies. And he doesn't want the first 2 movies spoiled for him. So it was I think he was very confused by those movies.
Yeah, that's fair. It gets complicated.
All right. So here we go. First question from a celebrity, possibly. It's from a Michael Moore in Detroit.
Wait, hang on. Are we going to questions or are we talking about Weird Al in Halloween 2?
Oh, we didn't even really tell. We just mentioned that he was there.
We just mentioned he was there.
We're going to okay, so he shows up for about 30 seconds in the middle of the movie. And problematic nature aside, this is one of 3 times we're going to talk about Al hanging out with Chris Hardwick on this mailbag episode.
Yeah, I was going to say this crazy moment where it is a late night talk show that Dr. Loomis is going on to talk about his book about Michael Myers, and then Chris Hardwick is the host, and then the other guest is Weird Al, and they are just they're just making fun of this man who is trying to talk about his serious research into Michael Myers. It's very weird and silly.
It is a really strange, and it's understandable that you forget about this because Al barely even speaks in the scene. Like, it's almost like, here's my guest, Weird Al Yankovic, and he waves at the camera, and then I think he has, like, a line in the entire scene. It's so
He
quick.
interrupts, like, Chris Hardwick asks Loomis a question about, like, the negative impact of his, like, some people say that your work has caused a lot of, like, pain and whatever in the world. And before Loomis can answer, Al goes, like, well, I try to always get permission for my parodies. And and Loomis is just rolling his eyes like this is a serious situation. This clown is just joking with me the entire time. It's just a really weird...
it's a weird scene in a weird movie, man.
It's a very weird movie. Rob Zombie's Halloween 2 is really impressively strange. It is also, I mean, you saw it a little bit in some of his early works, but especially now, looking at Rob Zombie, like, his last feature as of this moment was still The Munsters. Yeah. And I feel like in this scene, you get this sense of, like, his incredibly odd sense of humor.
Yeah.
I think Zombie has a
another
really
very
weird,
divisive movie that I did not hate as much as other people hated that movie.
I didn't hate it either. I am of the belief, I think that Zombie, generally speaking, is unfairly maligned as a filmmaker. I think people like to really hate him, but I think overall, if I'm looking at his work, I think he's done more stuff that I find cool and interesting than not. I don't think everything he's made has been great.
No, I think he's an interesting filmmaker who's not like a great filmmaker, if that makes any sense. You know what I mean? Like, he makes interesting choices, and I'm always on board to see where those interesting choices go. Like, he's not a bad filmmaker in the way that, like, Neil Breen or Tommy was. Like, I feel like people want to categorize him as, like, one of the worst. I think he makes very interesting choices. I also don't think that he makes interesting choices that make him amazing in the way that, like, a Cronenberg or a David Lynch was, like, an interesting filmmaker. He's, like, a very interesting, mediocre filmmaker.
I think he is shooting for those highs of those types of guys because he makes them really weird. Have you seen, I'm assuming you've seen Lords of Salem?
I think that Lords of Salem is one of the more underrated films of his.
That is a super underrated movie, and that is weird and psychedelic and surreal in the style of those types of people in a way that I actually think he nailed more than any other thing he made.
Yeah.
Yeah, I mean, to me, he is the, like, the example of the people who focus more on, like, the vibe and the tone than the story.
You knew that from House of a Thousand Corpses. Like, House of a Thousand Corpses is like a mashup of, like, 5 or 6 obscure movies. Like, people compare it to Texas Chainsaw Massacre, and I think he's going for a lot of Tobe Hooper, but he's going for more obscure Hooper. That movie reminds me way more of TCM2 and Eaten Alive than it reminds me of, like, mainstream Tobe Hooper movies.
It has way more of the surreal comedy of Texas Chainsaw 2.
Yeah.
Yeah, for sure. Anyway, and in addition to all the weird choices that Rob Zombie makes when making his movies, one of them was putting Weird Al in it, which is, I'm going to give Rob another round of applause right now for putting Weird Al in a horror movie, which is not always an easy thing to do.
No, this is, I think, the only R-rated film that we've ever discussed on Weird Algorithm.
Oh my God, I think you're probably right, actually, yeah.
Because he's usually a PG, G-rated kind of fella.
Very much. And I mean, it is a squeaky clean scene.
Yeah.
In an otherwise horrific movie, so I guess we'll give Al that. But yeah. Super fun, weird to see. And yeah, again, maybe a controversial thing, but Rob Zombie's Halloween 2, do recommend.
Well, we had over 20 questions. So let's
20 questions. Oh God, we gotta go.
Yeah,
we gotta go. Time's up. Sorry.
Let's speed run a few of these.
Yes.
First one, like I said, is from a Michael Moore in Detroit. Could it be the filmmaker? Who knows?
Probably. Let's say it is. Thank you, Michael Moore.
But he said, hey guys, this morning as I put my Off the Deep End CD into my CD player, a question popped into my head. How do the Weird Algorithm guys listen to these tracks? My Al album collection is spread across CDs, cassette tapes, and vinyl, but what about you guys? And generally, what is your preferred method of listening? So I will say for the podcast purposes, it's almost always YouTube. I'll pull up the song on YouTube. I'll watch the video on YouTube. I'll do a lot of that on YouTube. I'm a big CD collector more than vinyl, but I'm about to hold up my preferred way of listening to music is the iPod Classic that I've had since high school that still runs perfectly.
Wow.
And that followed by like a Spotify playlist. But I prefer the iPod because I have like a lot of like local music from when I was booking shows that isn't available anywhere but on this iPod. So
that's amazing. You plug headphones into an iPod still?
Yeah. Or
I'm not laughing at you. I'm just laughing at that's just amazing. That's really great.
Or like I have a plug-in that sends a Bluetooth signal to my car stereo.
To your car. Right.
But yeah, that's my preferred way. For you, Matt, I feel like you are a vinyl man to your core.
Oh, I have every, I regret I never got the Al's Squeeze Box collection, and it's because I am a crazy person who prefers original pressings of stuff to the newer ones.
Yeah.
And so when it came out, I was like, oh, I don't, as much as I wanted like Bad Hair Day and Running with Scissors, because those albums never came out on vinyl. They're only in the box set, at least as of this moment. But I already had all of his early records, self-titled, 3D, Dare to Be Stupid, Even Worse. Like all of those are sitting on my shelf right here. UHF. But I just didn't want to buy it again. So anyway, I have a bunch of his stuff on vinyl. As Matt Kelly said, for the show, usually if it's a music video, I go to YouTube just to watch it there. I'm not a Spotify person. I'm an Apple Music person, which I just have been for a while. I had a massive iTunes library from before, not unlike what you were saying, Matt Kelly, of like all of this stuff that I had collected, like MP3s of for so many years. And I like Apple Music because if I add music, if I stream stuff there, it all just combines with my iTunes library. And it's just like all of my music in one place.
See, I didn't know that about Apple Music, but that's actually very convenient.
Yeah, you're adding to your... I've just been like kind of keeping my iTunes library up to date and organized since I was a teenager. So it's been following me around my whole life, and I'm just really committed to it now. But yeah, no, usually I will go online and listen to it that way because I'm also reading along with the lyrics. Depending on how well I know the song, sometimes while it's playing, I'm doing a little bit of extra research. I'm looking through the forums. I'm reading Wiki. I'm reading interviews with Al to try to get all the information that I can for the track. Sometimes I listen multiple times, depending on how much needs to be discussed and how much is going on. But yeah, no, usually I'm sitting at my computer. It's usually like the night before we record. Occasionally it's like the morning of.
Basically the same.
Take a bunch of notes and then we do this.
This next email is from Charlie. There's not really anything for us to answer, but I just love this email. It said, hey, I just discovered your podcast and I'm loving it. I've been a Weird Al fan for about 40 years since one of my friends played Girls Just Want to Have Lunch for show and tell. I've learned a ton about Al from your podcast already, especially about some of his music videos because I never had MTV when I was growing up. I just listened to the Guide to the Grammys episode, and you mentioned Frank Yankovic appearing in there, and that you didn't think him and Al had otherwise collaborated. I remembered that I had a CD that I got in a Walmart bargain bin about 20 years ago called Besta Polka, and in it, Al and Frank perform Who Stole the Kishka together. Thanks for putting out a great podcast. Looking forward to hearing more. Charlie, I'm assuming if you're listening in order, by the time you get to us reading your letter, you will have heard us discuss that song on a past mailbag episode.
So true. So true. And what a fun one.
So moving on to this next one, we've got a couple from Joanna.
Cool.
Joanna just discovered the show. So she was sending us a lot of updates. But
Awesome.
The first email we got from Joanna, she said, I love your show more every time I listen, especially when you have on guests. I, too, like the work that Al put into Pancreas more than I enjoy the song itself. I hope that you check out Al's video, The Making of Straight Outta Lynwood, because in it, he's working on Pancreas with his band. It's a very insightful look into Al's process as a musician. And by the way, I actually saw an interview once with Al lamenting that he, too, was disappointed by the Pancreas video. I don't remember
interesting.
why, but I think he said something about Jim Bashfield fell down on the job. Maybe he was referring to drugs. I don't know.
Interesting. I didn't see that in my research, but that is I'm fascinated by that, and that does, I would say, make a little bit of sense.
It does.
I think it's got that weird old school, like we were saying, this public television Sesame Street sort of style to it that is surreal in a way that I felt like Al would appreciate. But it's also just so not funny.
No, it's not.
It's so non-comedic. Yeah, it's weird.
And then the last one before we dive into some more not mailbag related stuff is a quick one from Dan that said, hello, gents. I was listening to your podcast on I'll Sue You on my headphones, but as I walked past my daughter, she was working on her laptop in the kitchen and was singing to herself, "'Cause I'm just a teenage dirtbag, baby. You're everywhere in my house, Matt Milligan."
You know, really quick, while we're on that subject, I just, at the time we are recording this, I just last night got home from a short run of shows with Wheatus, and I am having more and more and more people come up to me to talk to me about this show. Like, it is really kind of wonderful. It's a great example, including like, oh God, I'm not going to remember which venue we were at, but one of the venues, like the guy behind the bar came up to me just to be like, hey, great show, but I really love the podcast. And I was like, are you serious, dude? Like, because that, it's hilarious. And I love it. I've said it before, I'll say it again. Come talk to me.
Yeah, maybe it's time for Weird Algorithm to be the opening act for Wheatus. We just go out there and do a live 30-minute episode before the band plays.
I'm not opposed to it at all. As we're running out of things to talk about, it's going to become an interesting. We'll just get up there and riff on Al each night.
Why not?
I think that could be fun. Yeah, I agree.
All right, let's talk about some of the musical appearances that Al made during this break between Straight Outta Lynwood into Alpocalypse.
Yes.
Is that correct? I can't even remember what albums we're talking. Yes, that's correct.
I think you got it.
So, one of them, which is probably the most prominent Al has featured on anything, is the song Street Meat. Dude.
This was I did not know this at all. I have never heard of Mike Phirman.
Mike Phirman. So Mike Phirman, this ties back to Chris Hardwick. Chris Hardwick had a band called Hard and Firm that was Chris Hardwick and Mike Phirman as like a bluegrass duo. But they had their own separate stuff, and Mike Phirman's separate stuff was stuff like this. And here's the song Street Meat. Which the song, super catchy, but Al is predominantly on this track as the street meat vendor having an argument with Mike Phirman about why he should still eat street meat, even though the doctor told him not to. This song ruled.
It's a very interesting, it reminded me so much of, this feels very nerdcore adjacent to me. And it also reminded me kind of, and maybe it's just the way that this song is formatted, but it reminded me of what Al will go on to do in like the Rap Battles of History series.
For sure.
because it is essentially this man having an argument. It's like an internal debate about like how he doesn't want to keep eating street meat because it's bad for him. But then Al is playing the street meat vendor who's basically like calling him a wimp for not wanting to eat the street meat.
You know what the song actually reminds me of more than anything? And this is a deep-ass cut, but I think you'll pick up what I'm putting down.
Go ahead.
It reminds me of the song Sex Packets by Packet Man. The song Packet Man by Digital Underground.
Packet Man.
On their album Sex Packets. Do you know the song I'm talking about?
I think I do, yes.
This is where I can't remember the name of the actual rapper who plays Humpty Hump anymore. But he's playing both Humpty Hump and himself. And Humpty Hump is a person on the street, and he is the packet man trying to sell him sex packets by explaining what a sex packet is.
That's amazing. Shock G, is that who you're talking about?
Shock G, yeah. So it's
Shock G, yeah.
Shock G is doing both parts, but it's a conversational track.
That checks out. That is also a digital. Shout out to Digital Underground. That's a excellent reference, Matt Kelly, for a great example of a not exactly a comedy parody act, but a very, very fun, silly, self-aware
it was
hip-hop group.
It was hip-hop funkadelic. Like, it was just the strangest stuff.
Yes, exactly the sort of thing like that Al would love.
100%.
Yeah. I mean, actually, now I'm saying it. Al did Humpty Dance in a polka.
Yes, he did.
He did. Okay, great. I love it. We brought it right back around.
Bringing more of the Mike Phirman connections to everything is... Everything we discussed. Hard and Firm also provided the entire soundtrack to Rob Zombie's Haunted World of El Super Beasto, if you've ever seen that cartoon.
I've seen a little bit of it, yeah.
And the only album, which we should dive into this just out of curiosity, but the only album that Hard and Firm ever put out has a song called Rodeo Head that they have been very open about it being inspired by Weird Al polkas, where it is a bluegrass song medley of famous Radiohead songs strung together in like a 5-minute medley.
That would be fun to listen to, even just out of curiosity. Yeah,
it's probably my favorite track on that album. But yeah, Street Meat, this is the most we get Al singing on anything that we're about to discuss in this little segment of the mailbag. But
it's fun. Yeah.
Let's talk about the Wheatus Al connection on the next song here. Were you familiar with MC Lars' True Player for Real?
Yes, I was. Yeah, I mean, it's, I was thinking when you sent this in an email, like, I know we've like sort of talked about this on the show. Or at least
wanted you to tell me the story of how this all
addressed
happened.
It in passing,
yeah.
But yeah. All right, guys, if anyone is listening to this who does not know, my band did do a song with Weird Al, kind of.
Yeah.
We met, MC Lars, our dear, dear friend who's been on this show many times. He was making a new record. We did a tour with MC Lars in the UK in 2007. The spring of 2007, that's where we kind of met, and we actually backed him up because he was just going there by himself. So Wheatus functioned as his backing band, and we did a whole UK tour where we played our set and played his set with him. It was so fun. We became like such good friends. And then after that tour, we had hit it off well enough that MC Lars came to New York to our home studio, which was on Long Island at the time, and sat down with Brendan and really all of us, but mostly Brendan and he, to make his new record. They were like, let's just make an album together, and Brendan was going to produce it. And in that process, they initially worked on, it was a whole album's worth of material. I'm going to say like probably between 10 and 15 songs were demoed. And most of them wound up, it's a long story, but in short, MC Lars was on a label at the time, and at the time his label thought he should be moving in a different direction than the stuff he was working on. So some of those songs, I think they've come out in various forms over the years on some of his other comps and stuff, but most of that stuff he did with Brendan got pushed to the side. But one of the songs that made it through was this, True Player for Real, that he wrote with Brendan, and then once they had the hook of the song written, Lars sent the track to Weird Al, and Weird Al played accordion on the whole song, but predominantly in the chorus. There's this big, loud accordion part. It's this sort of like triumphant anthem song, True Player for Real, which is what MC Lars always used to call himself. And so we never met Al, sadly, because it was all done remotely. But in the studio, I played the bass on it. Brendan played guitar. A bunch of us sang. I didn't sing on it, but a bunch of people helped sing the chorus. And yeah, we knew. Lars had said to me at the time, he's like, "Oh yeah, Weird Al and I know him. We're friendly and stuff." And he told me, he's like, "I'm going to try to get him to play accordion on this song." And I was like, "There's just no way. Like that's not going to happen." And then the next thing I knew, he was like, "Hey, check this out," and it was just the sound of Weird Al playing on the song. I was like, "What?"
Yeah.
It's worth remembering at this moment in time, I have been like working in music for probably, certainly under 2 years.
Yeah.
And probably closer to 1 year than 2. So for me at that moment in time, I was just so completely floored.
Yeah,
that
you were
he managed
already
to do
on
this.
a track with Weird Al Yankovic a year into.
I could not believe it. It was so insane. It's. I feel weird talking about Jimmy. I didn't write this song at all. Like I just play on it, but I still think this is a great song.
It's a really good song from a great album. Like this whole album is fantastic.
Yeah.
All right, let's pause on music for a little bit. Let's go back to some letters.
Yes.
So back into the mailbag. Our friend again Y, who's been emailing us for a really long time, says, "Hey Mats, first off, how was the tour?"
It was great, thank you.
Everything you know is wrong was insane. I wasn't at any of the shows. He doesn't tour where I live, or anybody actually. This album had a behind the scenes featurette. It's currently free to watch on Al's YouTube channel, and it got me thinking, would you guys be down for anniversary re-releases with outtakes and such? Since Bermuda is and still is sitting on a ton of archive recordings from Al, for me it would be cool to see his originals, backing tracks, and raw takes and demos. Like, and imagine a Weird Al Yankovic anthology series. And then he said, also, do you think Al was influenced by the Ruddles? I would assume probably.
Definitely.
Then he had it, guys should upload to TikTok more. Yeah, that's on me. But then he said, question, what is your dream instrument? Like, what is the one you always wanted to own?
Well, you know, it's funny. I will say right now, for me, especially early on, the instrument that I always wanted to own was an accordion.
Yeah.
Which is, I'm not just saying that because of this show. It's true. It's because of how much I loved Al. And I actually do now own an accordion. And the only sad thing, I wish I could go grab it, is that my apartment is small enough and an accordion is big enough that I'm pretty sure right now it is staying at a friend's house, because it's just this massive suitcase that cannot fit in my closet. And it's also incredibly hard to play. When I got it, I spent a lot of time trying to get good at it, and I got okay, but I would be so rusty at this point on it. But accordion ranked really high for me, and I have it, and I still feel like it's a dream instrument because I don't play it enough.
Similarly, I have a 6-string banjo, which is like a cheater version of a banjo. You just play regular guitar chords on it. I would have loved to have learned how to play the traditional 4-string banjo and really play it, be good at picking and stuff like that. But I think my brain is better for music appreciation than music playing. Yeah. And obviously, dude, I would love for some Al re-releases with 20 tracks of demos.
I glossed over that.
Yeah. That would be awesome.
It's a shame because it's so in right now. Everyone is doing these retrospective anniversary box sets. I was just talking to somebody, Green Day is doing an expanded edition of Warning, which I'm really excited to hear because I love that record, and I feel like I'm just excited to hear what else was going on at that time. But for Al, it's hard because if Al has a fragment of a song idea that's a parody, is he going to release that in a box set without getting permission?
Yeah.
The fact that Al needs to get stuff cleared is
really
the tricky part for him. To go through all that trouble to clear a snippet of something that's going to be a 30-second track on a box set, that would take him, it would probably be a lifetime before he could finish clearing everything. And then by the time he wouldn't make a penny on it. You know what I mean? Yeah. It's this unfortunate side effect. Now, if Al's sitting on stuff that he can release, boy, would I love to hear that. That would be incredible. That I would be over the moon. I would take my wallet.
All right,
I want to hear it all.
We got an email of appreciation from David. He said, Matt and Matthew, I was like y'all were growing up, loving Al, then growing out of it and becoming too cool for school with him, only to come for full circle and find a newfound appreciation because you learn about Al's influences and his intentions were more than strictly to be funny. I just wanted to say that I discovered this show after Milligan was a guest on Every Song Sucks in May of 2025 and was daunted by the back catalog. I started what I was afraid would be an impossible task of catching up, but you two and your many guests have created such a chaotic and engaging podcast. Stay weird.
Oh, that's awesome. I love that. Yeah, shout out to the Every Song Sucks podcast about Real Big Fish, which is really, really fun. Had a great time doing it.
We got a long one here from Matt, and I think this is a good one for us to address, so here it goes. He says, hello again, gents. First of all, I wanted to say what a thrill it was to hear my emails read on the last mailbag episode. I was the crazy person who argued that Hardware Store was a Blink-182 style parody, and hearing you guys praise my research and then blatantly saying no made me laugh my ass off. With Alpocalypse album approaching, I wanted to get your thoughts on Al releasing half the album through the Internet Leaks EP and other mediums. Yeah. Will you review the songs in order of release date or just by the track number? I'm assuming it would just be by the track number, but I figured it was worth the ask, and I wasn't sure if anyone else would bring it up. So we'll start here. Yeah, we're just going to do it by the track numbers.
We're going to do it by track number. Spoiler is we already did most of it by the track number, and we do talk about Internet Leaks quite a bit across that stuff. Because it did have an impact on the rollout of that album, and it did make it feel a little bit like maybe slightly less of an event when it appeared, because half of the songs had already been heard.
Yeah.
But also now I think, again, we discuss it in the episodes, like looking back on it now, I don't really think about it as much as I did at the time, because now it just feels like an album.
It was a bigger deal. Yeah.
Yeah, exactly.
You said, also, what do you think about Al releasing songs this way? Personally, I hated it, as just about half the album was already old news by the time it came out. I also felt that most of the tracks were way too weak to stand alone as album singles. I think there's a good reason Al did not try this for the Mandatory Fun album. He listed what tracks were released, and he said, this only left 5 brand new tracks for me to listen to upon the album's release, majority of which I did actually think were some of the stronger songs in the album, but I couldn't help but feel like I was kind of cheated. Thanks again for all you do, from one Matt to 2 others. And yeah, we cover a lot of that. Matt has a lot of touring in the later half of this year, so the Alpocalypse episodes are all fully recorded. So don't judge us if we talk about celebrities who died after this point.
Oh God!
Those episodes,
so true.
It might be some old news in a few of those episodes.
Possibly. It's funny too, because again, just to go back to that, I do agree that at the time it lessened the impact of Alpocalypse that those songs came out early. But now looking back, I mean, I wish Internet Leaks is what I want Al to do now.
That's what I just a bunch of originals. I want him
to just be like, hey, here's a new song. Just out of nowhere, here's something, which is kind of like what he did with Polkamania, which was great. But I wish that he could, that the whole idea was supposed to be he was trying to get out of the album cycle thing.
Yeah.
And he did. He released these songs independently, but then they wound up on the album anyway, which made the album. What I'm saying is eliminate the albums from the equation and just let Al drop songs.
I'm fine with that.
He can do that for as long as he wants. I'll never be sad about that.
I love that world.
Yeah.
All right, we'll do one more email and then we'll dive into some more just Al stuff in this blank space. This one's from Kevin. He says, hey, Matt and Matthew, loving the show and looking forward to each episode weekly. I just finished the Virus Alert episode, and I love the conversation about how Al introduced you to a sound of a band before you even knew the band. Furthermore, the idea that Al's style parodies are for him seems right on the money, and it's sad we may not get to have that window into Al's tastes with potentially newer music. So the question I'd like to pose to each of you is this. What newer, or at least later than he's done thus far, band do you think Al would enjoy enough that he would do a style parody of it? I think he would dig the craziness and variety of King Gizzard and the Lizard Wizard, although I can't imagine how he'd tackle a style parody when he's already done so many of this. Looking forward to your thoughts on it, and I hope that you find a way to continue the pod when you've reached the end of the discography. How about you, Matt? You're a little bit more on the pulse on weird new music than I am.
Yeah, and having said that, I actually think if he were to go into the, from everything I know about Al, I mean, I think this started as a question about Al's taste, and I'm going to now pull it in another direction. But I think if Al were doing parodies right now, I think he would be looking at the pop world completely.
For sure. But he's talking about specifically the style parodies, how the style parodies give us a really good look at what Al actually likes to listen to.
Right. Yeah, because I was going to say, if he was doing parodies right now, I would think it would have to be Chapel
Olivia
Room,
Rudd.
Taylor Swift, Olivia Rodrigo, Charlie XCX, like all of those. Like, to me right now, that's the thing. It's like the woman pop fronted act. I think he would have a field day with all of that stuff.
Yeah.
But beyond that, for style parody, I mean, it would be interesting to hear him do some of the more recent, like, the band world right now is so strange because there's just not that many. Like, I was going to say King Gizzard makes sense. I guess they are like a very prolific and very popular touring band. He could try to do something really weird and go with like I think maybe he would appreciate someone like Billy Strings, like a super virtuoso musician who everyone's really admiring and respecting right now, and do something that's this like Americana, but jammy, psychedelic, weird thing. Like, I feel like he would dig that. Beyond that, I mean, I don't know. Or, another good example, he just did that feature with like the Linda Lindas. Yeah. I think, something like that, like another, like, just like fun, like driving rock thing. I could see him doing something like that, but there are not enough rock bands right now that are making that kind of an impact that nothing comes to mind like straight away.
The only thing that I could see Al maybe getting into, but I genuinely don't know how much of a fan Al is of hip hop, let alone underground hip hop. Mm-hmm. I could see him doing a style parody of like the stuff that's coming out of the Odd Future camp. You know what I mean? Like the stuff where it's just like really out there, abstract. I could see him enjoying that music enough to be like, I want to try my hand at something like this.
Sure.
But yeah, I really it feels like two old men yelling at a cloud, but it just feels like the type of stuff that historically Al has liked, that we haven't gotten nearly enough of that in the last couple years. Like, I
also just think it would be older. Like, if you think about, like, I'm thinking about the Mandatory Fun style parodies.
He's pulling from 70s and 80s stuff.
He's going back. Yeah. He's going back in time. And I think that if he were going to do more style parodies, he would probably also go back in time and just continue to visit acts that made an impact on him when he was younger. Yeah. Because that's the stuff, like...
which I'm still here for. To go back to the previous question that we had, like, if once every 6 months we get an Al style parody of a 70s, 80s, or 90s group talking about something happening either in current news or just the most mundane, boring version of that. Yeah. Like, I'm all for it.
I was just thinking, like, what's the most recent band he ever did a style parody of? The two that come to mind right away are Foo Fighters and REM.
Yeah. And probably Foo Fighters being like, he was doing that Foo Fighters style parody not too far removed from like The Best of You and like the Foo Fighters still being on the radio. Like even REM I guess would be the only one when he's doing Frank's 2000-inch TV that's like at the peak of REM's popularity.
Sure. And we could mention the White Stripes. We can mention Cake. Cake are still an active touring band at this point,
but
we're talking 90s. We're talking 90s world here at the late. I can't think of anybody who he's done a style parody of who didn't at least start in the 90s at the latest. So I feel like he would probably go back in time, and you know what? That's even more exciting to me now that we're really getting to I want him to go back in time, and I want him to do a style parody of someone else I'm not as familiar with, and have him open that door for me. I would love that so much.
100%.
Yeah.
My favorite thing about Shipt since I signed up for Target Circle 360? No price markups when I order same-day delivery from tons of local stores. Only a handful of alcohol retailers and items don't count. I won't lie, I've had too much fun being like, markups on groceries? Not in my fridge. Markups on pet food? Not for my DOG. Markups on tools, electronics, home goods, meds? Not in my house. Anyway, it's awesome. Order now at shipt.com/360. Terms apply.
Breathe deep. Imagine your legs more limber in Duluth Trading Double Flex Denim. Envision euphorically squatting for that can of suds, bending for your toolbox in a state of bliss, lunging for your laser level on a whole new level. Relax and allow the flex to fill you with ability. Find your inner flex in Double Flex Denim only at Duluth Trading.
This episode is brought to you by LinkedIn. Psst, healthcare pros, word's out, and it's too good to keep quiet. Look, LinkedIn is revolutionizing job hunting, making it possible to search by specialty, shift preference, and salary. Endless scrolling is out. Whether it's a mental health therapist or dental hygienist, finding the perfect role is faster and easier than ever. Head to linkedin.com/healthcare and start your search today.
This episode is brought to you by Progressive Insurance. Do you ever find yourself playing the budgeting game? Well, with the Name Your Price tool from Progressive, you can find options that fit your budget and potentially lower your bills. Try it at progressive.com. Progressive Casualty Insurance Company and Affiliates. Price and coverage match limited by state law. Not available in all states.
Are you a fan of young adult novels?
Have you ever wondered the stories behind the people who wrote your favorite young adult novels?
Then join author Eric J. Brown
And Alyssa Lube of Netflix's The Circle.
every other Tuesday on YAOK.
Available on all podcasting apps.
Woo!
Let's take a pause from the letters real quick to talk about two very short TV appearances that Al did. One is that he's back on The Simpsons doing a parody of Homer Simpson's grunge hit when he was in the band Braingasm, or with the song Brain Freeze.
Brain Freeze.
Which is like, there's so many layers to this because it is a parody of a Nirvana song.
Correct. Correct. It is a parody of, I mean, it is essentially, when you listen to it by the end here, it plays like a parody of Nirvana's Rape Me. And this is also the origin of everyone's favorite Simpsons related Weird Al quote, which is that Homer is sitting on the couch watching Weird Al do this Brain Freeze parody. And then it cuts back to him sitting there and he says the famous line.
He who is tired of Weird Al Yankovic is tired of life.
Is tired of life.
This is from a greatly disliked Simpsons episode.
I know. That's what makes it so interesting that the quote stuck so hard.
Yeah.
Because
people
this
do
is
not
season
like this
19.
episode.
Season 19 of The Simpsons. Yes, an episode that is not beloved in any sense. And yet, that line has stuck around enough that there is not a single Weird Al YouTube video I have ever seen where that quote is not at least close to the top of the highest ranked comments.
And because, I mean, there's a couple different things, right? Like, there's obviously it's just a good quote aspect of it. Yeah. I also think that, like, the problem that people have with this episode isn't its lack of jokes, but it's like The Simpsons exists in this weird world where it's been 30 years of these characters all being the same age. And I feel like this was the very first time that Marge and Homer's story no longer was a love story from the 70s, but now was a love story from the decade when they were already on television.
Right.
And it just causes this, like, very weird time continuum issue with The Simpsons suddenly.
Yeah.
Where it's like, well, the golden years was the 90s and all of their flashbacks were 70s coded. And now, because we've made it 20 years later from that point, and we haven't aged these characters at all. Now their backstory has to be that they met in the 90s, and it just becomes a whole weird thing. But yes, this.
I mean, I can understand why somebody would have. I can understand why a writer would want to do that, because it does box. Again, 20 seasons in, you're boxed into this world, and these characters are static, and you're like, oh, I desperately want to. I mean, again, at this point in time, how many Simpsons like backstory, origin story episodes have we gotten that mess with each other's, lore constantly?
Yeah.
And that's just the nature of a sitcom like that, unfortunately.
That's the issue, I think. If The Simpsons was a more of like an anthology parody sketch show instead of a animated sitcom, you could get away with this because there isn't like that much lore tied to it. But
well, it's like there's an early episode, I'm sure you're going to know this one because this is one of the first examples of it, where they give Principal Skinner the weird backstory that his name is actually Armin Tamzarian and that he stole the identity of someone in Vietnam. But then even by the end of the episode, it is like the superintendent's like, welcome back, Armin Tamzarian, who we will now call Principal Skinner, and let us never speak of this again.
Yeah, exactly.
And it is like, just like, let's ruin everything. And then at the end be like, never mind. We're going back to the way it was. And it's like, I guess you can get away with that a little bit, but it will always irritate the people who are really paying attention.
So the other show that I had you watch was the last 6 minutes of an episode of How I Met Your Mother. I'm not sure how familiar you are with this show, but I will say that I think that this is one of my absolute end-all be-all favorite Al cameos from television.
I mean, it's great. I'm familiar with How I Met Your Mother. This was a show that I started watching and I did not ultimately keep up with and finish. So I did not get this far. I still haven't met the mother. Don't tell me who it is. And I certainly never got to season 7, so I hadn't seen this. But it was funny because as I was watching it, I was like, Matt Kelly is telling me to watch this, but I don't like Al is not here. And I was like watching. I'm like, I wonder if Al's actually going to show up, or if this is just because I knew that you were a huge fan of this show. I'm like, maybe he just wants me to watch this thing where they reference him a whole bunch of times.
No, you needed the build up to that payoff. I think that's why it works. Because earlier in the episode, basically it's a very short, brief version of this 22-minute episode, is that Ted has asked Robin to go with him to a concert, and her boyfriend has an issue with it, until it's revealed that it's just a Weird Al concert and that she was his last option because he had asked so many people, none of which who are interested in seeing Weird Al with him.
Nobody wants to go. As he is saying the name, he's like, I got tickets to see Weird Al, yeah. And then everyone's hanging up the phone on him.
But, the boyfriend trying to connect with Ted says that he's the biggest Weird Al fan in the world, actually. And then we get this like montage of Ted's Weird Al facts, and one of them being, I gave him the idea for Like a Surgeon, which is like a funny throwaway line in the moment. At the end of the episode, we get this bumper where it says sometime in the early 80s, and it's Weird Al dressed as 80s Weird Al with a terrible wig.
It's a terrible wig, but it looks perfect. It's Al, current day Al, dressed like himself in the 80s, and it looks so fake and bad, but it is also like just great.
And he's just getting annoyed by every fan letter. Like he's like, another fan letter. Why won't these people just leave me alone? And he's like reading the letter, and it's Al playing that classic douchey celebrity vibe where he's reading this kid's letter, and he's like, I have some ideas for songs. He's like, oh, wow. Like, he's just such a jerk.
And he reads the Wake Me Up Before You Pogo. And I was like, did you work hard on that one?
He's such a jerk. He's reading all these parody ideas, and then he gets to Like a Surgeon, and then he stops, and it's like this stoic, slowly standing up, and he sings the first line and then runs off camera to go to the studio.
Then he start recording. Yeah, no, it was really fun. I also just loved the montage of everyone hanging up on him as he was trying to like get rid of a ticket to see Weird Al. Like that was it was fun.
It's especially appropriate for that time. We talk about this all the time, but like that period of time was it was like right on the cusp before everybody unanimously agreed that like Al Yankovic should be held up in the same way that we hold up like a Mr. Rogers as just like a great dude that everybody should love.
Right. Yeah, totally.
All right. Back to the mailbag for just a little bit. Yep. Got an email from Kendrick, said, thank you for this amazing podcast, diving deep into the history of the full catalog of Weird Al songs. I learned so much that I never knew about the style parodies and the polkas that he created that I never knew when listening to them on the albums. I don't think I would have ever even discovered the album Straight Outta Lynwood without this podcast. Now I'm going to see a Weird Al concert tonight at the Shoreline with my friend Ethan, and our wives are even joining us for the first time since we saw him during the Running with Scissors tour at Great America in 2000, more than 25 years ago.
Wow.
I love that we introduced Straight Outta Lynwood to a listener. That is...
I do too.
That's fantastic.
That's awesome. Thank you very much. That really is like, I think when we do this, like it rarely occurs to me that we are possibly introducing someone to this stuff. I usually feel like we're preaching to the choir already. So that's awesome to hear.
All right. So we got one from, I'm going to say this is Kiva the Diva. It says, Dear Matt Squared, longtime listener, first time writing in. After listening to the episode on Do I Creep You Out, while I respect that your opinion is that Kelly Clarkson is the only winner out of the first 5 of any relevance in 2025, I should point out that Carrie Underwood was the season 4 winner, and while her music might not be as big on the pop charts, she is still extremely relevant in the country music scene. I'm not a country fan, but living in the Midwest, I can tell you that her music is still everywhere here, and she tours heavily. My best friend from high school is in her official fan club, and he has been to several of her meet and greets. Personally, I could never hear before he cheats again, and it wouldn't be a problem for me. But it's like an anthem to any woman's scorn. All that is to say that Weird Al probably in 5 seasons had 2 winners hitting the charts, Kelly the Pop and Carrie the Country, and then Taylor the Pop at number 1 with his song. So at that point, the percentage of relevant winners to non-relevant winners was more than half. Could he have figured out that Taylor probably wasn't going to have lasting power? Most likely. But I do think that having multiple relevant winners on American Idol and the need for a schlocky song to replace 2 separate songs like it musically that fell through likely contributed to its placement on the album. We have the gift of hindsight here for the relevance of an Idol winner and the sheer number of them that exist now. He had a much smaller pool to see the results from and drew from that information. So I feel you were judging him a bit too harshly on that front. Other than that, I've enjoyed your podcast tremendously, and I look forward to your podcast weekly on my hour-long drives to work. Keep up the great work.
Yeah. That's super
forgot
fair
about Carrie Underwood.
Carrie Underwood won the year before Taylor Hicks, and Carrie Underwood was very quickly quite a success.
Yeah.
So that does check out, and yeah, no, you're right. Like we were saying, season 5, like at that moment in time, American Idol still was a very, very, very big deal. I think, if anything, and maybe we said this, I can't remember, maybe Taylor Hicks was approaching the point where it was starting to become clear that, like, oh, no, winning this alone won't actually get you much longevity, necessarily.
Agreed.
Because if I'm looking at, like, Taylor Hicks, and then after that, Jordan Sparks, who I know that name as well. I think she had a single that had some play. But then we get David Cook, Chris Allen, Lee DeWise, Scotty McCreery, Philip Phillips, like maybe vague recollection of those names, but you can make the argument that Taylor Hicks is where it starts to take a turn, which means it was more just bad luck for Al and not anything more than that. And also, like we said, this definitely was primarily rooted in the You're Pitiful debacle, situation. I have to believe. Yeah.
100%.
Yeah.
All right, we've got one from Daniel here. It says he named his email Bathtubs Over Broadway, and Al makes a mistake. And he said, thank you for recommending Bathtubs Over Broadway. I really enjoyed it.
There's good, right?
There's just something about listening to records that you were never meant to hear. I think you hit the nail on the head about Trigger Happy being a Beach Boys style parody and Pancreas being a Brian Wilson style parody. The other Beach Boys would have been happy to continue in writing songs like Surfin' and Help Me Rhonda, but Brian was always experimenting with new sounds and increasing the complex compositions. Pancreas takes Brian's artistic styling and turns it up to 11. When Al decides to drop some science in the song, he usually does some research or at least some basic fact-checking. And in Pancreas, he gives us the formula for universal gravitation and And he gets it wrong. He sings, "My pancreas attracts every other pancreas in the universe with a force proportional to the product of their mass and inversely proportional to the distance between them. The first part is correct, but the second part should be inversely proportional to the square of the distance between them. Then if you double the distance, the attraction will be 1/4 as strong. At 3 times the distance, 1/9, and so on and so forth."
Wow. I am going to have to take this person at their word.
Yep. Love this email.
I will say that according to genius.com, it says that Al is not incorrect.
Well,
and that this is indeed Newton's law of universal gravitation. But it also says right above that, this annotation is unreviewed.
Yep.
So I don't know.
And I'm going to throw this out there. Daniel sent a second email, which is an email we got a lot of. I'm going to read Daniel's, though, because it gives us a little bit of context here.
Great.
But he said, "In 1990, when I was in college, the close enough for government work was actually a very common saying, especially among us engineering students." So let's say Daniel knows a little bit about.
Okay. I'm going to trust Daniel, and I'm going to say that Al got this wrong, which is I'm amazed.
Yeah.
But there you go. There you go. Thank you, Daniel.
Well, I think we can take one last pause from the mailbag to talk about a Yo Gabba Gabba. My first experience ever watching Yo Gabba Gabba.
Me too. Oh, Matt Kelly, I was sure that you were going to tell me that you knew this show very well and had watched.
I know that it's from the Aquabats. That's the big thing that I know about the show, and that I have a lot of friends who Aquabats is their favorite band. They've watched Yo Gabba Gabba out of support. I know that their list of cameos is insane. On top of Al being the predominant star of this episode, Sarah Silverman even shows up for a little bit. I get the appeal of this show. It almost has a little bit of a Tim and Eric energy at certain points where I'm just oh, this is chaos. This is absolute kid chaos.
Sarah Silverman is in this episode. Mark Mothersbaugh is in this episode.
Which Mark
Paul
Mothersbaugh
Scheer is in this episode.
Mark Mothersbaugh apparently is in every episode.
Yes,
His
I did know that he was
a
very involved.
Thing. Yeah.
Paul Scheer appears in this episode alongside Jack McBrayer.
Yeah.
Loads and loads and loads of guests. There was the band that also, there's a band that plays a song in the middle of this episode. I think it was Black Kids.
Yeah.
Who just show up and do a song about circuses, right? Or clowns or something. It was
something about clowns because Al is only in the first half of this episode, really. He shows up as the ringmaster. He sets up the circus. And then there's a point where the episode ends, but the episode continues into an episode about clowns. It's almost like a double-ended episode. I stopped after it was clear that the Al portion was wrapped because it was a 45-minute video, and I was watching it this morning before we recorded.
Right.
But I did not. I literally thought that I was going to send you just a clip of Al singing a song called Circus Parade, and then I was like, oh no, he's the star of this episode.
Yeah. He's the ringmaster, and he shows up and tells everyone what they need to do to have a successful circus.
He sings 2 songs.
He sings 2 songs,
and both are fine.
I have to say, I thought the music was really good.
Well, I think that when you have Mark Mothersbaugh and the Aquabats kind of doing the music for the show, it's going to be fun, and it does have that 80s synth new wavy vibe. They've been very upfront that this show is inspired by the Sid and Marty Krofft stuff, and you can tell.
Right.
It's oozing that 70s costumed creatures. When we did the Tim and Eric stuff, I said I definitely want to dive more into Tim and Eric. I don't think I need to dive into Yo Gabba Gabba, but I didn't hate my time watching this. I was like, this is crazy.
I think for me, I would say that I feel like if I had a sibling or whatever, if there was some, I would have watched this with my little brother if the timing had worked out. In fact, maybe my youngest brother did watch Yo Gabba Gabba a little bit. I can't remember. But I feel like as an older person sitting down with a kid to watch something, sometimes that is just watching paint dry. It is the most boring thing in the world. This seemed delightful to me and was busy enough and had enough weird Like, again, like the surreal cuts of just like one kid like just picks himself up. It's like a kid doubles and he lifts himself up and starts like weightlifting with it. It was like, what is this about? Like, it's just really strange imagery. Yeah, no, I'm not going to do a deep dive on Yo Gabba Gabba, but I enjoyed my time more than I thought I would.
Yeah, same. All right, let's wrap up the mailbag. We have an email from Bill Collins, who I'm not going to read their full email address, but their email does have a Weezer reference in it, which might explain the question. But they said, is Al's band featured in the Weezer video for Africa? I don't know their faces well enough to tell, and a few of them look a bit too young, but why wouldn't they just use Al's band for the video? ? I don't think they are. I didn't take the time to rewatch the video, but I feel like I would have clocked the first time watching it, like, oh, that's Al's band.
I thought it was Al, and then the Weezer guys were the ones in the
That's what I would imagine.
But you know what? I'm checking on that right now. So hang on one sec.
You check that out while I read a slightly quick email from Evan, because we may have to do an episode after Alpocalypse diving into this. Evan said, I found something that you guys are going to want to cover. I'm a Canadian listener, and I found out that Al filmed road report vignettes for Much Music on his 1995 tour. I discovered this because a Redditor posted the segment in the town that I live in, and I never knew about it. And after some research, I found a full compilation of it. And he sent a YouTube video. It's a 45-minute video of like, throughout his tour, there would be these like 2-minute video vlogs from the tour that they would air on Much Music. I'm yeah, we got to dive into this.
We definitely got to dive into this. Also, side note, this person is right. I'm watching the video right now for Weezer's Africa starring Weird Al, and it looks like it is just 3 random musicians backing up Al. It's not the guys from Weezer, and it is not Al's band, so I don't know who they are. I mean, I guess the Africa video is something we're gonna discuss at a certain. We're gonna
probably the next.
Yeah, we're gonna have to, right?
Yeah.
So we'll do a larger deep dive on this as it comes closer. But yeah, no, I don't know who these people are or why they're there. Thank you for your question.
We're in the final 3 questions here.
Yes.
It says, good afternoon. I discovered your fabulous podcast about 6 months ago, and I've been clicking through the episodes of some of my favorite songs. I'm just old enough to remember warping the first LP from Overplay and actually walking to my mailbox for Columbia Records to deliver me my in 3D cassette. The Biggest Ball of Twine in Minnesota is my absolute favorite. And when I went to see the Vanity Tour, the only thing that made me happier when people held up signs that said Twine Ball or Bust was the fact that the song was actually in the playlist that night.
Awesome.
Anyway, since you are not only fans of that song, but musicians yourself, allow me to recommend that if you don't already know about it, a podcast called Strong Songs. It is an independent podcast hosted by a dude named Kirk Hamilton, who I can only describe as the Mr. Rogers of music podcast. The podcasts pick one song per episode and does a deep dive into both the lyrics and the music. So I was absolutely flabbergasted when a few episodes in, Kirk picked Biggest Ball of Twine in Minnesota to do a whole episode on. As Al fans, you will absolutely love the episode, and as music fans, I think it will become one of your favorite podcasts. Full disclosure, I'm in no way affiliated with Strong Songs, just a fan of good music and good music podcasts.
I love that. That's awesome to hear that there is a just general music podcast doing a deep dive on a deep cut from Al. So I love that. Yeah, I'm definitely going to listen to that.
I do have to laugh, not to put this man on blast, but I had to chuckle because his name is Matthew Kells. He is 1 letter away from my name.
Wow. Well, now I know if anything ever happens to you, Matt Kelly, I got the perfect sub. Matthew Kells is going to take right over. It's going to be perfect.
This one comes from Ellis, and it seems like you may have met Ellis this month. He said, hello, I talked to Matt Milligan about this after a Wheatus show last night, and it made me think, hey, the mailbag episode for Lynwood hasn't come out yet, so maybe I can get his comment on the record. But I wanted to point out my favorite moment on Trapped in the Drive-Thru. It's Al's standout vocal performance on the track, and about 9 minutes and 10 seconds, just before the line, okay, forget the chicken sandwich then. Sorry, Milligan, if I'm misquoting it after the show. A lot of my brain is still focused on the personal acoustic performance of From Lightning to Lightning that BBB just finished. Al gives the subtlest little mini note of a throat noise. To call it an would do it injustice. It's less than that, and yet it does so much for me. First off, it's hilarious. I laugh at it every time, and it exists slightly out of time. I can never fully anticipate it, and every time it jumps out and just tickles me to no end. I don't want to overanalyze the meaning, except that it is clearly purposeful, and I welcome any interpretations on your end. Mostly, I just wanted to gift it to both you and the listeners, this tiny, unsung nugget of Al's au revoir. Please enjoy. P.S. Milligan, the show was super fun. Thanks so much for your help on getting my vinyl signed afterwards and being genuinely a kind and cool person. And please thank your wife, whom I didn't get to speak with, for joining BBB for the acoustic encore.
Nice. I do indeed remember speaking to him, and I did actually listen to this little moment. And there's this very funny, incredibly subtle little like just vocalization he does, which when we were talking about this episode, I would not have ever caught this single moment, but I said how much I loved like R. Kelly is another one of those vocalists who has so much like little like just tiny little like melodic moments and vocalizations and sounds and stuff that he makes. And Al just peppering them in here to make it feel like it's him. It's wonderful. So good.
So the last thing we have to talk about in this very large mailbag
and thank you for your kind words about the show. Sorry, now I'm ready.
The last thing we need to talk about is Comedy Death Ray. I have been talking about these two covers.
You have.
From the second we started this. And, it's Halloween, which means that tomorrow it's Christmas. So it's the perfect time for us to talk about this. But Comedy Death Ray, now known as Comedy Bang Bang, would put out these compilation albums of comedians doing Christmas sketches, Christmas songs, etc. But to promote the fundraiser, they would get a bunch of comedians who, most of them not singers, to record covers. And the first year is like a very gritty, filmed like on a home camera, like them in the studio doing Do They Know It's Christmas?
Yes.
And I did write down the list of everybody who's in it.
Go ahead, because it's very impressive.
I'm not going to get all of these correct, I'm sure. But Paul F. Tompkins, Aro Manzi, Tig Notaro, Rob Hubel, Patton Oswalt, Mike Phirman.
Phirman.
Yep. Jimmy
I didn't know what he looks like.
Yeah. Jimmy Pardo, Brian Posehn and Scott Aukerman, Garfunkel and Oates, Amy Mann.
I know, crazy.
Chris Hardwick, Paul Scheer and June Diane Reifield, Doug Benson, Mary Lynn Drojowski. I don't know how to pronounce. Raskaub. Wow, I was not even close. Nick Thune, Weird Al Yankovic, and then the fake rap names of Cracked Out and Dragon Boy Suede. Cracked Out, I'm pretty sure, is John Daly. And then Natasha Leggero. And then the ending is the highlight for me. Thomas Lennon and Helms doing a parody of the David Bowie message at the end of the original version.
Yes, exactly. As if they also couldn't get there in time. So they just phoned in a greeting for the end of the song.
This is Thomas Lennon doing a David Bowie impression saying that I'm so sad that I can't. It's such a good joke. It's the best joke in this particular song, honestly.
I agree. It's great. I also, as you said, I want to shout out, because you stopped on her for a minute, just shout out to Amy Mann, who is not a comedian at all, just a singer with a great sense of humor. She pops up and stuff all the time, and I think she is just...
She's part of that world, and I don't know if it's because she's like LA-based and became friends with the comedians, but she does so many comedy podcasts, and
she does a lot of that stuff.
A genuinely funny person, but she is not a comedian.
She had one of my favorite... there was a bit with her. She did an episode of Portlandia where the joke was supposed to be that, times were tough in music. And so she started cleaning people's houses. So she is cleaning Fred and Carrie's house for them to make a little bit of extra money. But they know it's Amy Mann and they're so excited. And they keep trying to pander to her in these ways that she doesn't like, where they're like, hey, Amy, do you know who we hate? Sarah McLachlan. She was like, don't hate Sarah. She's a lovely person. No, we hate her. And it was just like, she seems like a really, really good sport. I loved seeing her in this. I recognized her voice right away, too. She's a very distinctive voice. It was awesome.
this one of the two, the joke is mostly just, hey, a lot of these people can't sing, and that's kind of where the joke ends. There is one,
and of course Al can sing, so he appears and just does a fine job, and it's like, okay, and then that's it. It just comes and goes.
I think my favorite is Patton Oswalt, who sings his one line and then immediately takes a phone call and leaves the bar.
Yeah. Like he's walking away from the mic on a phone call. It's great.
There is some good jokes like that, but I want to dive into the one that I think is a masterpiece. And this thing has been scraped from the internet. The only version I could find was someone posted it on Reddit last month. And I was able...
It's insane.
Yeah, it is so hard to find this, but it's called We Are the World 2.7. And it is a parody of when they did the 25-year anniversary of We Are the World.
Yeah.
And it starts with Kurt Russell, like sitting by a fireplace giving an explanation of what you're about to see. And he says, like, these are not singers and none of this is going to be good. But he's like, but I want to remind you, because this is for a food bank, he goes, I want to remind you that laughter is the best medicine and food is the best food. And then the video,
so true.
And then the video starts, and the lineup on this one, a lot of returning people, but it's Kurt Russell, like I said, Sarah Silverman, Kevin Nealon, Lorraine Newman, Scott Aukerman, Doug Benson, Weird Al Yankovic, Thomas Lennon, Paul Scheer, Kate McCucci, Ricky Lindhold, Matt Baser, Brett Gelman, John Daly, Casey Wilson, Jen Kirkman, Neil Hamburger, Natasha Leggero, Amy Mann again, Matt Bronger, Rich Summer, Nick Thune, Brett Wenbeck, Chris Hardwick, Paul F. Tompkins, Pat Francis, Camille Nangiani, Jimmy Pardo, Marie Bamford, Chris Fairbanks, Brody Stevens, and Dragon Boy Suede. This thing is, I think that this is amazing. I love
it's stacked.
This song.
I mean, it is like
so much.
With the intro from Kurt Russell, it's like 8.5 minutes long. Like this is a proper We Are the World. Like they are going for it, man. It is like
it also. I feel like the production is there on this one. With the Do They Know It's Christmas, it really does feel like Scott Aukerman invited a bunch of his friends into his apartment for like this crazy idea. But like this one, it's like there's like this chorus of people with everyone getting these one-off bits while the chorus is happening. It's so funny.
You know, it says something because I will see the other one. Whatchamacallit? The
Do They Know It's Christmas?
Do They Know It's Christmas? Yeah, exactly. That one on the YouTube video, it actually says shot and edited by Scott Aukerman.
Yeah.
So, I mean, we are talking about like this is for these people who have found quite a nice little like world in comedy here. They're doing quite well nowadays. Like this is a really scrappy operation they are doing back then. To make this stuff. So it's amazing to see even the quality jump, like you said, from that one to this one. Like, oh, wow, they're like, this is
a
like
year later.
It's like a year later. And this feels like suddenly they have camera crew and budget and all of this is like really happening.
But there are so many funny jokes. And a lot of the jokes, I think you had to have been there when this second version of We Are the World came out and everybody hated it. Like,
oh, man.
Like it came out and it was like, what the fuck is this? And like, there's like a rap part. There's so much auto-tune. Al gets probably the best joke in the whole thing because he sings in auto-tune and it's like glitching and popping. And
yes, that is a great joke. Yeah, like he, again, one of the only people who for sure can sing in this group. And yeah, he has the worst sounding auto-tune ever
like it,
on his voice.
Because he sings like, we are the world for you and me, and when he gets to me, it's like, like it's like it's so funny.
Bizarre choices.
He also delivers this like he crushes the part where he's supposed to sing. It's him, Chris Hardwick, and Mike Phirman, and it's like I'm trying to remember what the lyric is. But he's like, if you just believe, there's no way we can fall. And as he's singing, Chris Hardwick shoves him to the ground to take the mic. And then when they sing the Stand Together as One, Mike Phirman's head pops up. And they have a very pretty 3-part harmony.
A nice little moment there. Yeah.
But yeah, just watching like, I think everyone's just having more fun in this. Like even like watching Casey Wilson like practically stripping while singing her part. Like she's getting like so sexual with this like charity song.
Yeah.
Then we Oh, go
I was
ahead.
gonna say, you know what it seems like to me is the "Do They Know It's Christmas" one. I feel like the note might have been like, just do it straight.
Yeah.
Play it really straight, and that's the joke, is that we're like just playing it straight. And this one, it feels like everyone had more freedom to just do whatever they wanted. You know what I mean? Like, have fun with this, go for it, and it comes across much, much better.
Oh my God, the ad libs throughout are so good, but my favorite, I've quoted it before, is Paul Scheer, where he says, like, we're asking you to donate. Sure, we could donate our money, but we've already donated our time.
It's great.
Like,
it's great.
It's bit after bit after bit. I absolutely love this. Add it to your Christmas playlist.
100% agree. I also want to give a shout out because I was just amazed to see, like, I adore Neil Hamburger, and I was amazed to see him involved in this and be like, also he has the ending.
Yeah,
the ending is all Neil just talking to the people, and it's great. Like, this is really a wonderful. I'm so happy Al is a part of this because it's such a great cast of characters.
So I want to give a shout out. Unfortunately, no longer with us, Brody Stevens. He has 2 or 3 ad libs on the end of this, and on the album, they have a track called Brody's Bio, which I think is a beautiful behind the scenes on the making of this, which is literally, you hear the We Are the World track playing, and he's just singing along about his entire life, like where he grew up, wherever. And then you hear him do the ad libs that ended up in the song. And then when he's waiting for his next ad lib, he's just continuing his little singing his story of his life. So it feels like they just brought them into the studio and were like, just have fun. Here's the track. And we'll pick our favorite stuff and go with it.
It's great. I love it.
Yeah, an absolute banger of a cover.
Agreed.
I'm trying to see if there's. I do want to talk about the rap real quick because the raps that come up in this are so good. But Dragon Boyd Suede, who I only really know is like this, and he did the show Who Chart It, which was his version of like the Casey Kasem countdown. But he has a whole Lady Gaga part in this that just feels appropriate leading into next week's episode on Perform This Way, where he's like, we are the world is you and me. And as the saying goes, you are what you eat, but you can't eat the world if the world's not made of meat. Like, it's like the lakes aren't flaming yon and hamburgers do not grow on trees. Lady Gaga got it started when she wore the meat dress. But you can't make a garment of meat all by yourself. Like,
it is an insane stream of conscious, like, just, it is like someone hanging on for dear life in a freestyle, like, trying to pull anything they can to keep talking about. Yeah, it's very, very well done. I was not familiar with Dragon Boy Suede at all. I just, like, Howard Kramer is the actor's name who created that character. I was not familiar at all. I've heard of Who Charted, but I didn't realize that was a connection. That's awesome.
He has another track on this same album called Christmas Lady Marmalade, where it's him just rapping as Santa Claus having sex with all of the female elves at the North Pole. Like, it's so vulgar, but man, it's so charming to me that, like, it reminds me of, like, oh yeah, in 2010 there was this beautiful LA comedy podcast scene that Scott Aukerman, like, brought together that just, like, all did shit together like this. And, like, you do get sad because you're like, will we get that again? And I think the answer is always going to be yes, but, like, I miss when I've tried to build that with Geekscape sometimes, where it's just like this ecosystem of podcasters that, like, people just start to know everybody because they're all showing up on each other's shit all the time.
Right. Yeah.
But I mean, I knew so many not famous comedians because at that time it was all, I was like listening to Doug Loves Movies and Comedy Bang Bang and all of these shows that, like, just introduced me to what was happening in that scene during that time.
Yeah. No, I mean, it's, again, when you watch this and you see the cast of characters that is all involved, is like...
I mean, Camille Nanjiani was a nobody in 2010 showing up.
I couldn't believe he was in this. Yeah. When I saw him pop up, I was like, wow, he must have been a kid. Like, but that's, I mean, they cultivated this amazing scene and he clearly knew talent.
Yeah. And I think became too famous at a certain point. That's like what ended up happening is like.
That's often the way, right? Is it's like you build up this thing. Yeah, exactly. And then people become so successful that it falls apart sort of by default, which is, I guess, the best way for it to happen, really. But yeah.
So that's our mailbag. Next week, we're going to be diving in to Alpocalypse, and
we are indeed. But Matt Kelly, before we do that, we have one more thing we have to do.
Oh no! What?
Yes, because this is a mailbag at the turn of a decade.
Yes,
which means that we get, if we want, you don't have to, but if you want, you have an opportunity to re-rank a song on our list that maybe we feel like has moved, is no longer in a position we are happy with, and we want to move it up, move it down. We've only done this like maybe twice before.
Yeah,
it's a rare maneuver for us, but I think it's important.
I agree. Let me take a look. Do you know what you're going to move?
Not immediately. I had a couple ideas, and now I'm just going through my list again here just to check.
I feel like I'm trying to look here. I feel like there was a parody that I felt like had really slipped too far down on a couple moves here. Whew. Man, maybe I don't have anything I want to move. Maybe I'm just perfectly content with everything as it is. Let me look at the original songs. Let me check my originals real quick. Yeah, One More Minute got really low on my list. And I didn't intend for that. So I'm just trying to check here if there is anything that, if given the chance, I would move. You know, Checks in the Mail's looking kind of low, actually.
I would say that's one of your signature songs, Matt Kelly.
I know, and I keep listening to it. I'm going to move Checks in the Mail. Wow. Okay, I'm still moving Checks in the Mail.
Here we go. Now we're doing it. Now we're making moves. I like it.
Okay. I'm going to put... This is insane. People are going to lose their fucking minds. I'm putting Checks in the Mail under Albuquerque and above Hardware Store. Which
wow.
Which puts it in my top 10 again. It's knocked Hardware Store to number 10. So if there's...
Wow.
Hardware Store's hanging on for dear life now.
I kind of love that. That's incredible. Okay, I am going to make a move as well. I'm also going to move an original. And I'm going to move... Is this what I want to do? Yeah, it is. It was funny. You mentioned it earlier, and it's exactly what I was looking at the time. I'm going to move One More Minute up a little bit because it has fallen a little bit low for me. I'm not moving it nearly as much as you did, but I'm moving One More Minute up, and I've decided that I like that. Yeah, I'm going to move One More Minute up to just below You Don't Love Me Anymore.
Okay.
In between You Don't Love Me Anymore and Bob, which moves that up a good few spots. It's not entering, I don't think it's even in my top 20, but it is definitely closer to the top now, and I feel like that just got pushed down by a handful, including a song like Bob, which when I look, I'm like, no, I like it more than Bob.
Yeah.
Even though Bob is brilliant, of course, but like just in terms of an overall listen, One More Minute is a little more special to me. So there we go.
All right.
Gentle adjustments. Factoring in our decision making in the 2000s. Here we go.
Very necessary.
Thank you.
And, I'm just going to repeat it again. We already recorded every single episode that you're going to hear on Alpocalypse. So if anything is grossly outdated and we're talking about celebrities that have passed on from this moment until the episode comes out, just get a little bit of grace.
Bear with us, guys. It's my fault. It's not Matt Kelly's fault. So don't, send your hate messages to my attention.
All right. We'll be back next week, as far as you guys are concerned, with Perform This Way. So
that's right. Tuned. See you guys next week.
You're listening to the Geekscape Network.